Hello everybody, I am Ben from Team Panic, and today I have a box in front of me. This is a box of Annie. It is all of her parts. I finished taking her apart at the end of the other video, just so I could get a few bits and pieces out, including the one broken piece. So today we are going to attempt to actually make the upgrades that I catted on live stream the other day. Get this all together really quickly because ARC's next event is very, very soon, and I still haven't finished the Melty Brain or finished some tweaks and some other robots, so I need Annie up and running as fast as possible so I know I've got something that I'm going to be competing with. So I think without any further ado, we're going to cut some of this bar down and we're going to get moving. That is the piece cut and drilled, and even though this guy, these pieces, this guy and this guy and this guy don't have the right holes in them, I do want to do a fit up just to see where we are. I'm also kind of waiting because I've printed a drill guide that will bolt into these and just allow me to really quickly and easily position the new hole. Nice. So on a first fit up, this is actually pretty rigid. Now I haven't even tightened all this down yet. The front bolts are literally just finger tight and they're way too long. These will need to be changed. And then the back bolts don't even have nuts on them, but you can see this is pretty good. I can't easily shift this out of square. I don't really like relying on the strength of the base plate to keep square though, so I will end up drilling these new bolt holes that need to be drilled so that the front will keep itself square. But yeah, that is looking pretty good. And then this guy, that's the wrong one. I don't have the right one here. I'm gonna have to grab that in a second, but that's where that needs to go. It's just this is the wrong version of this, so it doesn't bolt into here. Oh, and we need to put in our ABS piece, which has been drilled and tapped now. So that should go in the middle here, and then the actual motor mounts bolt straight into this, which is how I ran it in the old version as well, but without this full tube here. Anyway, more to do. Cool, so that is now looking pretty good actually. Everything's all somewhat set up. There's still a little bit of play in a lot of these things because I haven't actually fully tightened everything down yet, but this weapon system is looking a lot better. It does still have the problem that it had before, where if you squeeze the belt in, the motor wobbles around. If you watch the stream, I do have a bearing coming that's supposed to sit right in down the middle down there somewhere, but it hasn't actually arrived yet, which means that I can't actually do that bit. However, that bearing needs weight, and one of the things I was running out of was weight. So I now need to work out if these modifications that I've done have added any weight to the system. Also, I will say the weapon now spins really nicely and really flat. There's nothing the problem with this anymore. With this new bar in place, everything else is sitting really nice. Now, there we go. Good old-fashioned butt pile. Annie's in quite a state at the moment, but she's sitting at 1 kilo and about 260 grams. So I have about 100 grams left to play with in here. Which is okay, but not great, because I'm not sure that that bearing is going to fit inside that weight. Also, I actually still need a way to attach the front plate. The back plate is mounting the same way it did before, but the front plate can't do that because where the front plate mounts would normally have been are now covered up by this aluminium angle. And also where some of these bolt holes line up, they line up exactly with where these big bolts are sitting. So I actually need to sort out some other system. Now, I do have these extra holes, so those are the mounting holes, and these are the holes that mount the actual top armor down, and we're going to have to do something different with that as well. So it's possible that we now mount off of the top armor holes, potentially. So the plan was to cut both of these down, and I have them marked up and holes drilled in them and everything ready for that to happen. There's two problems. One, my Dremel has decided that right now is the perfect time to die and stop working. And also, as you can see, the pair of these together is 85 grams, which is nothing in the grand scheme of all of Annie. So, yeah, cutting these notches out is going to save me at the very best, maybe 30 grams. So it's not worth cutting these out by hand. If I had my Dremel, it would be worth it, but for this level of weight loss, it's absolutely nothing. So I'm gonna push on and do the rest of this, and yeah, try and work out how I'm mounting my front plate inside 100 grams. Okay, so here's where we're at. We are at a box of parts mode again. So this is Annie currently, which is not great, but the new front section is now basically complete. All the holes that need to be in it are drilled in it. It has two riv nuts in the front, which are going to be to hold on the armor panel. I haven't drilled the holes in the armor panel yet because I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the thicker one on. So we're going to do a full rebuild, put her on the scale and work out which armor panel we can put on. So I did put the riv nuts in. I also hacked out the back here so that I can put nuts in the bottom of this. So the plan is to have two small M5s go to the front holes and then two long M5s go to the back holes, which is also going to be how we do the lid for this thing. The lid is going to be held on with these two corner bolts, hopefully, when we get to that point. So that's all going well. There's one big problem though. We're getting really close to the event, and the bearing that I wanted to hold Annie's weapon motor hasn't arrived yet. So I'm going to pull some of the parts out of this box. We have this piece that I catted on stream, and in here there is actually a section for a weapon mount. For a bearing to go in to hold the weapon. Now I just need to undo this quickly. Come on. This is why you put bolts in things. They hold together properly. Anyway, once we get this out, there we go. There is a ridge down in the bottom here, which was designed to hold a bearing that houses or that holds this brushless motor in place so that it doesn't bend and warp and therefore lose tension on the belt. But that's not here. So I need to find a backup plan, and that backup plan is these. Two tiny little M5 bearings. Now, obviously, these aren't going to go around the outside of this motor like that old bearing was. Instead, I have this plan. So the whole idea is we get our two M5 bearings and we jam them into here. I've tapped these holes already. So this 3D print has two tapped holes in it, fully tightened down. There's just a little bit of play left in them, which is basically so that the bearings don't seize up, essentially. And I'm going to hot glue the actual nut to the, the bolt head to the edge here so that it doesn't back out again while this thing is spinning up. But then hopefully, if we put this in here and tighten everything down, you see, in down there, come on, there we go, that we are actually touching on those two bearing surfaces, which means that this guy, now I can't force that forwards because it's got those two bearings that it's running on, and by the sounds of things, those two bearings are doing their job, which is awesome. Okay, so time for me to get Annie more back together then. So it's now the next day, and I had a bit of a sleep on it. I also did build the weapon system off camera properly, and you can hear, maybe, if I pull this up to my microphone, those bearings rub quite a bit, so I've actually put this together, ran it with my hand like this, and put it back down again, and it is actually taking the paint off the label of the, it's taking the label off the brushless motor. So all this system might be a little bit too tight, but it does move relatively freely by hand, but it doesn't spin on its own. Like, it will go a little bit, but it won't go very far. So I'm hoping that this system is free enough that it will actually work. Now, the other thing that happened is I also realized while I was in bed last night that these cuts here are putting the same weakness into this piece that I had in the old piece. The whole reason we're trying to fix this stuff. So what I've done is I've printed some buff blocks which have a captive nut in them, and these slide into the end and are only just smaller than the tube, so they will help to keep some of that tube strength in there. And also there's, like I said, a captive nut, so one of these will be captive. And realistically, I should have just done this in the first place, because with a captive nut like this, I don't actually need a hole in the back here to be able to get a tool in, because the tool can, or the nut can just get screwed directly into. So with that like that, I want to start putting Annie back together. We're not going to go all the way. I'm going to get her up to a point where I can put her down and do a spin-up test. I'll probably have to pull everything back down after that point and Loctite a few bits and pieces, but as long as we can do a spin-up test in this video, I am going to be happy. So let's get to building.
Just, yes! Oh my god. It just, oh, wow. Everything is kind of gone a bit skew-iff in this video. Annie's a mess, the area I film in is a mess, my workshop is a mess, everything's just kind of everywhere. But none of that matters right now, because that spin-up was textbook, beautiful spin-up. I was really worried because with the belt under tension like that, with everything so that it can't move, with the bearings on the motor and all that, there was a lot of tension and stress on that belt, and moving the weapon by hand is quite tight. I mean, it's been tighter and I've still been able to move it by hand, but it's quite a tight turn. You can't just yank it and it doesn't free spin. So I was really worried that it wasn't going to spin up under its own power, and it absolutely does. But not only that, there is no cogging, there is no startup time issues, it just, up she goes, which, I'm so happy about that. That's so good. Yeah, that's great. Basically, what all of this means is that I think we've eliminated that belt issue now. Hopefully. We'll get it into a fight and we'll see, but with the textbook startup like that, it shouldn't be an issue from this point forth, and I am so happy about that, because the amount of tension that's in that belt, even if we do get a little bit of rubbing, we can lose a little bit of that tension and it should still start up totally fine. Now, this is going to be the end of this video. I do need to clean Annie up. She's in a bit of a state right now, but I'll do that off camera, because that's literally just going to be probably a pull all the way back down and redo everything with Loctite, and also making sure the packing is right. I also might tidy up the wiring a little bit because it's got a bit haywire and out of control, but it should be totally fine, and Annie is definitely going to be in fighting form for our next event, which is coming up very soon. So yeah, stick around on the channel, because there will be some fight recaps coming up, which I'm so excited about, and Annie seems to be doing pretty well for herself, so hopefully that leads into some good fights for her for this month's meet. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed that one, and I will see you in the next one.